Welcome everybody to another episode of well, we still haven't found a name. I have a name,
Just
but we're gonna see what we're gonna do with
I
that.
I say we just name it Talk Nerd Shit.
Talk nerd shit. I thought you didn't want this to have anything to do with nerd shit.
It's definitely plenty full of nerd shit.
I could think of a name. I liked over a pint, but we could think of a name.
What's that? What does that have to do with? Oh, no, anyways, um,
Anyways, so first of all, Carlo, how was your day?
good.
Yeah.
A lot of good sports stuff happening today, but this is not the time or place for
No,
that.
no, no. We got your podcast
Mhm.
drop, which I'm gonna
So,
drop into the
as you can notice, we have my Iron Throne at
the
the back.
Iron Throne. You know, history says that 1,000 swords were made to make that throne.
Oh, don't even talk. Are we gonna talk about lore? Game of Thrones lore?
Well, we do have an hour, but here we are today, talk about Game of Thrones for the entire episode. Now, I've only seen the show, but you, Carlo, have not only seen the show, you've read all the
I have
books.
I have read all the books. Yes,
You
I'm a
own all
big
the
fan.
books.
Yes, they are very big, wide, thick, girthy books.
Whoa, that's a lot of info right there, my
Yeah.
dude. Now,
Uh,
of course, there's gonna
I'm
be
still missing
spoilers.
two. I'm still missing. I'm missing two books
The Wind of
because
Winter.
George R. Martin hasn't wrote it yet.
He doesn't know how to end it. I'm pretty sure he'll make it better
No,
ending.
he has an idea on how to end it, and
Hmm.
that's what we got in the show. It's just the execution that needs to be better.
Oh, it needs to be way better. But okay, so we'll talk about the ending for the last bit. But for right now, we're gonna talk about the general whole of Game of Thrones and what our favorite seasons or moments were. What was top 5 moments for you, Carlo?
Oh man, you just put me in the spot there.
Well,
Uh,
Game of
are
Thrones
we,
for you is just like a big, massive thing. You love it so much.
Yeah, I do. I guess my no. I'm gonna start with one because it's gonna be really hard to do like
In no
a
order.
top
No
to
order.
order. Yeah, obviously, I think the Battle of the Bastards is probably one of my favorite small screen event. Of course, the Red Wedding.
That was a good one.
Even though I kind of knew was happening, it's just watching my family and friends react to it was pretty funny. And uh, of course, the Jon Snow death too. That one was really fun.
Oh, that one
Uh,
gave fans a whole fucking heart attack right there.
yeah. It's crazy because the thing about the Jon Snow death is that uh, it actually happens at the end of Feast for no, not Feast for Crows, the fifth book. It was a cliffhanger in the books because when the whole resurrection thing with Jon Snow
Mhm.
hasn't happened yet on the books, it actually cut that was the cliffhanger, one of the cliffhangers in the books.
Uh huh.
So actually, when that happened, I didn't know what was Jon Snow's fate was after.
Really?
Yeah, so that was pretty one of the things that's like cliffhanger with me, like waiting for. I think it was season six. Oh no, season seven when he got resurrected, or season
Season
six.
5.
No, season five was when he died. I think season six was when he got resurrected.
Oh yeah, season 6 because that's what the whole
Battle of the
Battle of the Bastards.
Bastards.
Oh,
No,
I
yeah.
love that. That was probably
So
my favorite top one.
so that's one of the things that I actually was pretty excited for because I did not know what was happening. Another thing on the books that they kind of deviated with the show is they have a different cliffhanger on the books and the show with Daenerys
Of
that
course.
hasn't happened on the books yet. Because what they did with her, it's a little bit different. They kind of, I feel this is a big a theme too going into the show, but I feel like it's a little rushed because I feel like there's still a lot more going on with
Are you talking about the
Daenerys.
show was rushed or the book was rushed?
The show is rushed.
Okay,
I
yeah, of
feel like
course.
yeah, especially season 7 and 8.
Now you've read the books. How long before the series came out did you read the books, or were you
After
reading it
season one,
after
I,
season
I
one?
I watched season one and then I read the books.
How long did it take you to read it? Like those
Well, that isn't
books?
that long because the I think Feast for Crows wasn't out that at the time yet.
Mm-hmm.
That which is the fifth book, and it didn't take that long. It does take a while. I think it took me like 6 months total to read 4 books and about a month to read the fifth book.
Now,
It is
when
it is
I
I
first started out with Game of Thrones, I made a joke about you're worse than Jamie Lannister or something like that, and you said you have no idea what his character arc
Oh
is
yeah.
like.
Hmm.
I've gone to the shows, and the show does not do his character arc justice, from what I heard.
It's yes and no. The way they ended it with Jamie in the end of this is what a lot of problem. We're gonna probably talk about a little bit more with the problems the ending where Jamie's character arc was just wasted because his arc is on the books is a redemption. Because the, the way Jimmy Lannister, especially in season one, you see him, nobody liked him because
Hmm.
he screwed his sister. He seems like a jerk,
He
and
was a pretty
it's
boy, blonde hair with the
pretty
flow.
pure blonde hair. It's been a while since I read the book. I think you started to get his POV, I think, on the second book.
Hmm.
And then when you start knowing who he really is, you realize what kind of man he is. He's not perfect at all. He's
No,
not but he's just someone who's trying to do the right thing, and his flaws is number one, he's in love with his sister,
of course.
and he doesn't care for his legacy. Like I wouldn't say he doesn't care, but he's a little bit more rebellious than his family would in that time would have. He because I the whole thing about Jamie Lannister is they didn't really explore this a lot in the show. He's my favorite character. Jamie Lannister is my favorite character because I love these flawed heroes that seems like jerks at times. That's why I find John Walker really fascinating in Falcon Winter Soldier because I feel like they're kind of same thing. They're just misunderstood assholes. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So the thing about Jamie Lannister is that when he was younger, he is uh, the heir of the Lannister of Casterly Rock, right?
Hmm.
Son of Tywin Lannister, heir of Casterly Rock, and then his mom died with giving birth for Tyrion.
Hmm.
Jamie Lannister actually is the only one that cared for Tyrion as they were growing up.
I love that whole relationship they had in this
Yeah.
show. Like, I never read the book, so I could feel like the way they put those two
Hmm.
characters together. I could feel like Jamie really does love Tyrion, even
Yeah.
after all this shit that Tyrion's done. Jamie still loved his brother.
Now Tyrion knows that Jamie loves and respects him, and Jamie is vice versa. Cersei hates Tyrion because she blames their mother's death on Tyrion
Hmm.
because the childbirth and stuff, calling him a monster and all that. Cersei's actually like really really bad to Tyrion. There's a lot of stories in the books uh, about them growing up where Cersei used to just poke and prod Tyrion. He used to like when Tyrion was a baby. I remember. I don't know why I remember this detail. It just came back to my head where Cersei used to pinch Tyrion's penis until he started crying.
What?
Yeah,
What?
that. Yeah, he just wanted to torture Tyrion. This was when Tyrion was a baby,
Hmm.
so he starts crying until someone stops Cersei from doing that. That's how much Cersei hates Tyrion. You know,
Wow.
and of course Tywin hates Tyrion because he finds him as a disgrace to their family.
Yeah, he's missed. He's what is it? Disformed or what it
Yeah,
is?
yeah, he's deformed. He's a dwarf,
Yeah.
and the thing about Jaime Lannister is that he is Tywin's favorite because he is a son
Yeah.
and he is the heir to his throne. And Cersei was jealous of Jaime, and then because of this whole dynamic, Jaime kind of doesn't like the attention he's getting because he cares for his siblings.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like how much attention. That's why he doesn't really want Casterly Rock. And the fact that the Mad King when Daenerys's father no yeah Daenerys's father the
Yeah.
Mad King was mad at Tyrion because of the whole rebellion thing. I forget why he was mad at him,
Wasn't it
but
Robert's Rebellion?
this was before Robert's Rebellion.
Okay.
I forgot why he was mad at Tywin. I think he was handed the king, and Tywin was handed the king, and then I think he did something to really get uh, the
Th-
Mad King mad.
This is a good
So
test of your knowledge, by the way.
so yeah, I can't remember. It's been a while. So what he did is he named Jaime Lannister a Crown's Guard,
Hmm.
right? When you do that, when you're a Crown's Guard, you have to denounce all your claims to all lands and stuff, and you need to be you can't have heirs and all that,
Hmm.
just to piss off Tywin, because now Tywin doesn't have an heir. Well, now Tywin's heir is Tyrion.
Yeah.
That's what the Mad King did. That's why the Mad King betrayed the Mad. That's why Tywin betrayed the Mad King and sided with Robert during Robert's rebellion, because he got met because he was pissed off at the Mad King. And that's the whole thing with Jamie, where Jamie was the crown's guard
Yeah.
protecting the king, right, during the rebellion, but the king was telling Jamie to burn them all. And it's the whole story of Jamie had to pick between his oath as a crown's guard or his oath for the people, to protect the people,
And that's how we got the title of
the
Kingslayer.
Kingslayer, because he chose the people over his king,
To
and
be
he killed
fair,
the king.
I think I would have done the same thing to save the people over my oath. I think
Yeah,
Jamie got a bad rap because I really got when Jamie was like locked away with
Brienne.
Rian
Brienne.
of Brienne of Tarth, which I loved. Brienne of Tarth, loved the
Hmm.
character, loved the person playing her. That was a great fucking story right there. That her and Jamie should have been together in the end, but that's neither here nor there.
Um, I don't know if I'm allowed to spoil any of the books.
Mm,
I think you should. I think it's fine,
it's
right? I
fine.
think it's fine.
It's fine.
So there's a lot of there's a plot twist in the books that involves Brienne and Jamie, but I want
I'm
to
still
let you
gonna
finish.
read it, but
Yeah,
it's gonna be good.
I'm gonna let you finish your thought though. Just go ahead and finish your thought.
No, my thought was just the characters who they got to play those characters really did a great
Mhm.
job, and that's one other thing we're going to talk about at the end about the ending. It's not the character's fault; it's the writer's fault.
It's the thing about, you mean the showrunners?
The
It's the
showrunners.
Dave and Dan or something
Hmm.
like that. The thing about Brienne and Jamie though is they respect each other as warriors. Brienne in the books is actually a little bit different but the same. She's much more ugly in the book. She is described more man-like. His her face is kind of deformed.
She looked kind of manly in the show.
Yeah, no, not like she's still like pretty in her own ways, but she has like acne scars and all that. There's just she's not a very attractive woman
Hmm.
in the book, so that's why. And she's big. She's bigger, like in the book. That's the same thing in the show. She's big, but the plot twist in the books is that they left this out in the show, which was a very big disappointment. But Lady Stoneheart is a character in the books that they left out in the show.
Hmm.
I don't want to spoil who she is,
Uh huh.
but she is bent on revenge on the Lannisters,
Ooh.
and the ending of the I'm not sure if it's Feast for Crows. It's the fourth book or the fifth book. I'm not sure which one, because I think I told you this in just off the podcast, off air, where the fourth book and the fifth book was supposed to be together.
Yeah,
He was,
you told me
but it
about
got
that.
too long, so he split it in two. So there are characters on the fourth book that's not present, that's not present on the fifth book, and vice versa. Like Daenerys's story is not on the fourth book. Jon's story is not on the fifth book. You know, that kind of stuff. I can't remember the specifics, but on the fourth book, I think it was the fourth book where the last thing you see Jamie is he got hanged by Lady Stormheart,
Really?
and Brienne. Both Brienne and Jamie got hanged, and that was the cliffhanger. And I don't know what happens after that, because I'm still waiting for Winds of Winter. That and
You
this
and a
whole
lot of
arc
other people.
and this arc is not on the books. You know,
So it could go either way. It could be
it could
like
go other way. Yeah.
Jon Snow who died, but then he comes back. It's like someone at the last minute comes and saves Jamie and Brienne.
I'm not sure. Like there are so many things they change. There's so many different stuff. But what? But I digress. What's your favorite
My favorite?
moments
Okay,
of?
so I'm gonna agree with you. The Battle of the Bastards. I can't
Mhm.
think of any other moment that was just great. The Red Wedding was with Rob, right? That was
That's
my
season
second
3.
favorite. Season 3, that was a really good one.
Just don't see it coming, right?
No, you don't really see it coming. Another good one is it's a small moment, but it's with Arya leaves the Hound to die.
Oh yes,
That was a good
yes,
one. That
that's
was
a
a
good one too.
really good one.
It's
That was the
very emotional.
beginning of her
I
going to go see the
Bravos,
Bravos, where
yeah,
to learn with the
the faceless
faceless
ones,
gods. Yeah, which
yeah.
nothing happens in the show with that.
Yeah. Actually, like, yeah, because I guess I my disappointment with that is because she ends up killing the Night King.
Yeah,
Like, I
I
there's no build up to that.
there
It
was
was
no
either
reason for her to do that.
yeah, it should have been either Jon Snow or Bran, right?
Uh huh.
And
Bran, Bran.
but there's so many things, especially once they ran out of source material,
Mm.
it started going downhill. There are some good choices I thought they made, like keeping um,
Bran. Oh, is it
Braun,
Bran?
the mercenary guy with Tyrion,
Oh yeah, I love that guy.
Braun, because in the books he's not involved in the story after when did he because he got a castle
Yeah.
and it lands and nobody ever talks to him again, but they brought him back to be a buddy cop comedy with Jamie. I did like him. I hated that Dorn storyline because as I said, like they did the Dorn storyline with Jamie instead of what I just talked about before of Jamie with Lady Stoneheart, and
Mm-hmm.
they replaced the really good Dorn storyline in the books and put put this really shitty one on the show, which was really pointless and really killed uh I can't remember the guy's name. No, Tyrell's the in High Garden.
Yeah.
Who is the Dorn family?
The You're gonna have to look that up. But I did love the Viper. The Viper was another one of my
Yeah,
top 10.
it's Martell. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's his
Uh,
name? It's
Oberyn. Oberyn is the
Oberyn,
Viper.
and I love this
Um,
character. Love this character.
but his brother Doran Martell is actually they just ruined it in the show. He's like Doran Martell and Ariane Martell. They left him out. Ariane Martell is Oberyn's sister,
Mm-hmm.
older sister, and in Dorne they actually I forgot what's the word for it though, but their heirs can be women.
Mm-hmm.
So Oberyn is the second born, and then Ariane is the firstborn. So she's heir to the throne of Dorne, and they have this whole thing where Dorian Martell, and they have a little brother too, where they sent the youngest brother to Daenerys to get them married so they can be allied to take over King's Landing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they can have Dorne's army and stuff, and they took all that storyline out, and yeah, and it's pretty disappointing that they did that.
There's a lot of moments in that show or in books that could be disappointing. What was for you, not including the last season? Prior to that, what was the most disappointing moment for you that's happened?
Dorne,
Dorn.
Dorne, Dorne. That's when the show start. I felt the show started to decline. When I saw that Dorne storyline, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is not working. Hope it doesn't continue," and it did.
Mm-hmm.
It was very lazy writing and was just so bad. The whole the sand snakes or whatever.
Yeah, that was
They were
weird.
the sand snakes weren't even they're not even prominent characters in the books. They were there to like guard what's her name, the daughter, Cersei's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
That was just their role. They were just the guards of her,
And that was just
and
it.
then they made them bigger. So that was it. That was my most disappointing other than the finale.
Besides the finale.
Yeah, besides the
Yeah,
finale.
besides
Yeah.
the finale. For me, it's probably the death of the Viper. I love him too much for him to
Oh yeah,
die
Oberyn.
so Oberyn to die so soon. I mean, the way he died against the mountain was pretty fucking epic.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's that storyline though with Tyrion. Like Tyrion is one of my favorite characters too because I love his arc, and
The trial was amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And the way that they treated him in the last season in the show is just so, I felt like disrespectful to his character.
Mm,
He just I feel like he just got brushed aside.
he did.
Even, and he has so much more potential in the show. He actually had uh, a new love interest in the books.
Does
Another
he?
dwarf named Penny. I think it's Penny. I think her name is Penny, who has a pig or something like. Or was the or I think the name of the pig was Penny. I can't remember. I have It's been
It's
a
been a
while.
while, so you have to
It's been a
read
while.
that book. But
But yeah, she's a dwarf. She was a slave at the same time as Tyrion was a slave, and she's really bringing out Tyrion's because Tyrion was born in royalty, right?
mhm,
And even though he's a dwarf, he still lived in lavishly in high class and
which he
whatever. And
never really cared for. He slept around. He spent
yeah,
all the gold.
exactly. With I'm gonna call her Penny. I think her name was Penny. Um, but Penny really opened his eyes on how terrible life is for being a dwarf, not living uh in high class,
Yeah.
and he gives him that perspective. And in the books, Tyrion's still a slave, by the way. He hasn't broken out of that slavery, and he's about to start a rebellion, and that's where the cliffhanger is. But Tyrion's arc on the uh, I'm just talking about the books instead of the show,
No, and
which
we
is
can go back and forth. I talk about the show. You talk
yeah,
about the books.
yeah. And it's the way, I don't know where he's going, because that's George R. R. Martin needs to finish the books.
Now,
You know?
in the show's two final seasons, they talk about resurrecting the dead, and I don't know how that works. But do you think there is a possibility for George R. R. Martin to bring back Eddard Stark?
No,
No,
I doubt it. No,
doubt it.
the the thing the comparison, because I just watched Last Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good show. It's a historical fantasy that's based on the set on the rule during the Anglo-Saxon and the Viking times, with when King Alfred the Great was king of Wessex, and they're fighting the Danish, who are pagans, and the the Christians, who are the Anglo-Saxons, who are Christians. I bring this up because we were talking about the dead and the North, and that's actually is a good metaphor for it, because they see the North with their old gods and their old pagan type of their piety, their religion. And then you go to the seven kingdoms with their seven gods or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's like their Christianity type, and we see like, oh, that's the old ways, and it's very like similar in the way they treat each other's gods and stuff. And I just wanted to bring that up because I just thought,
Yeah, it
yeah,
was
it's
weird that you
a
brought that up
comparison.
because I asked about Eddard Stark, and they're like,
Yeah,
if that's a
and that's
possibility.
why. Yeah, that's why I that kind of came to my head is
Hmm.
Eddard Stark is a he worshipped the old gods and
Yeah.
all that. The North, because the North never they never got beaten by the Targaryens. They surrendered before war. Nobody died in the North. They just bent the knee before uh who's the Targaryen did for the first Targaryen. I can't
The
remember.
first Targaryen. That's a
The
long
first
time back
Targaryen king,
there, brother.
Aegon. Aegon
Aegon.
the Conqueror. There you go. Aegon the Conqueror. Before Aegon was able to attack the North, I think Brandon King Brandon the First or something like that, not bent the knee, so they didn't lose anyone in the North, and they didn't get subjugated their religion. That's why they kept the old gods and all that stuff
Hmm. The only reason
in
why
the North.
Aegon is familiar to me is because I watch film theory. This is
Hmm.
way back before Jon was resurrected.
Hmm.
They were talking about
Azor Ahai,
Azor
right?
Ahai, and they were talking about the three why Daenerys named the three dragons after her brothers.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of theory. Like one that everybody got correct was the Jon Snow is not a bastard.
Yeah.
son of Rhaegar and Lyanna.
Which
I
that moment was amazing. That was my third
I
moment
love
that I loved.
I love that moment. But if you go in the Song of Ice and Fire threads and all the forums, everybody kind of saw that coming. Not sure, but everybody that was their biggest guess because it all made sense, you
Hmm.
know. And that's why I love George R. R. Martin's writing because everything makes sense. And then you go to Dan and Dave, and it doesn't make any fucking
Like
sense.
not after season. When did they go down? After the Battle
Like
of
five.
Bastards.
I mean,
That's when it
their
down for
season
me.
6 has really great moments because there's still some book material that they got, but there are some bad moments too. I can't like it's been a while since,
It
and
has
it's
been a while since I watched it, but I'm
it,
looking at my
it,
Facebook feed and like I just see my disappointment as each week goes by and the last episodes go by.
and it's funny we're doing this episode right now because HBO is doing their 10th Game of Thrones anniversary stuff, and they're re-airing all
10th
the Game of
anniversary of
Thrones
season one, or just like when it
season
aired.
one, yeah,
Wow,
when it aired, yeah.
wow.
So they're redoing they're doing all the advertising, and I feel like because of the ending, the legacy of Game of Thrones is tarnished.
It really is tarnished. It's
And
a great show. From season like get past season one, like you told me, season one's kind
one
of hard to watch.
mhm.
But I loved it with Sean Bean. Sean Bean is just an amazing actor, and I love
and,
him in almost everything he's in.
and spoiler alert, he dies in the first season. He never gets past the first part.
No, that threw me off. I really was hoping, like
Yeah.
when I was watching season one of Game of Thrones,
Hmm.
I was really hoping someone would come and save Eddard Stark at the execution, but nope, no one came. I'm like, well, fuck me, and I'm like,
I
man, I hope this never happens again. But that was the fucking,
Yeah, it's just a
um,
start.
it
It's a
was
start.
just a start. It was a fucking what is it? Where things just recur in a story. What's it called?
Foreshadowing
Not foreshadowing. It's
theme.
theme. There's a theme of the show, and it always happens. That's what really got you into Game of Thrones.
And I think it's really cool that they're not afraid to kill off a main character, and that's when you know,
No,
oh shit, this show is different, right? And it, and like we talked about the Red Wedding
the Red
before.
Wedding.
That
That was
was
like
that
that
was
threw me off. Like I was
it came out
hoping
of nowhere,
it did because I
right?
was hoping Rob would just like conquer the Lannisters, but no, he gets betrayed and then gets killed off. His head gets or his body gets impaled with his
The
wolf.
wolf, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And it's crazy because you actually feel a little bit more for Rob in the show because he is a bigger character in the show.
He
He's
is.
actually a minor character
You
in
talked about that about how
yeah
he's a minor
in the
character.
books. There's only two Stark characters that's not a POV character in the books, and that's Rob and
Yeah.
Rickon Stark, which I think Rickon is getting his own POV next book
Mhm.
because one of the cliffhangers is that he is hidden in the island of Skag, which is up north, really cool, and it's like filled with barbarians or something like that. But he's hidden there, and that's where they found they sent I forgot who they sent to go get him. I think it was Davos. They
Mhm.
sent Davos to go get him or some. Yeah, it was Davos because Davos was in White Harbor, and there's this whole White Harbor storyline I don't want to get into, but there's this thing where the Bolton is still taking the Bolton is still in control of Winterfell,
Mhm.
and there are houses in the north that wants to rebel, that wants to put a Stark back into the throne, right?
Yeah, the whole
One of
the
those,
North remembers things.
yeah, one of those houses is White Harbor, and they don't know that Bran is alive. They
Mhm.
don't know Sansa's alive. They don't know if Arya's alive. The only thing they know is Rickon is alive,
Yeah.
and is hidden away. So the Davos is there because he had to smuggle something. So they ask him to go smuggle Rickon back so they can put Rick a Stark, who is the next in line as an heir, because they don't know John is actually uh, not a bastard, and they don't know if Bran is alive or Arya or Sansa. So Rickon is their last hope to put a a Stark backing the throne.
Yeah. Who was your favorite house?
This is hard because I love the Lannister house because of Jaime
Hmm.
and and Tyrion. They are very misunderstood, especially because Cersei's in it.
Yeah.
Cersei, with especially when you get her POV, is just you understand her, but
You
at
still
the
hate
same
her.
time, you go like, I mean, yeah, you're still a bitch, that kind of stuff. She's a fascinating character, but because of Jaime and Tyrion, uh, uh, I love the lion, but obviously the main characters are the Starks, you know, they are portrayed as the good guys, but I feel like those sometimes those are boring. I'm always fascinated with just the complexity of characters is what
Yeah.
fascinates me more. So I'm very much more intrigued with the Lannisters. I
Not
wouldn't
the
say
Targaryens.
the Targaryens are a little different because Daenerys is not my favorite. I love
Was
what
she
she.
your favorite in the beginning, or did she like slowly go down as she went mad?
I mean, no, it's not because she was mad. I just thought her character is a little bit like her sections of the book and story is just gets a little slow. It took her forever to actually take action.
Yeah.
I understand. She's delaying. I understand because I think she is afraid that she's gonna fail. That's why she took forever to actually
Get to Westeros.
sail to Westeros, and she wanted to be a conqueror in Essos, but she freed all the slaves, and and all that.
She could have been like a great queen in Essos.
Yeah, and you can also uh, in the books you can really start seeing her madness starting to. There's a little bit more clues there where she's starting to doubt. There's a lot of doubt in her mind of what if she can do this, and especially in the books, there's another Targaryen uh, to claim the throne.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, her name is Little Griff. He is technically Daenerys's nephew.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's from Rhaegar's first marriage with the Martells,
Yeah.
and he was hidden away a long time ago, and he showed up out of nowhere. Some people think he's a fake Targaryen. He's just claiming to be a Targaryen, but he is with I forgot the guy's name. Rhaegar's best friend and his Kingsguard, his right hand man. He's with him. He raised the kid, so
Mm-hmm.
the claim of him being a real Targaryen is there. So that's when Daenerys started to have doubts and stuff if she's actually meant to take the throne and all that.
Plus,
And
scientifically speaking, whenever you're going with genetics and you
yeah.
inbreed and stuff like that, the more like your timeline goes down, the crazy they are at the
hmm
end of it.
That's going back again because I'm also a fucking history nerd. That's the same thing with the royal families in Europe, where
Yeah.
all of them, like 90% of them are inbred.
And they're crazy.
Well, there are people that goes crazy later, especially later in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like King Henry VIII, he was a really good king, and then he married 6 times and killed and beheaded like half of his wives or divorced, and then he
Mm-hmm.
went crazy. You know, King Edward II, I think, before he died, when after the Black Prince died, his heir, he went crazy and all that. They start off really good, and then there's something that happened in their life, and they just snaps. Because they're not right in the head.
Well, yeah, inbreeding does that with, especially with
Yeah.
genetics. The more further you go down, like if
hmm
your great great grandfather started and then you went all the way down to what this generation, then there's a good probability that you might stab your next door neighbor for no reason.
hmm And it's crazy how comparing in real life in Europe, where I don't know if you know this, Jimmy, but in World War I, the Tsar of Russia, I mean the Tsar of Germany, no, the Kaiser of Germany, sorry, it's Kaiser of Germany, Kaiser Wilhelm something, and then the Tsar of Russia and the the king of England are all cousins, and they're all
Really?
fighting each other. Yeah, they're all fighting each other. They're all in the Habsburg family tree because Queen Victoria, the a generation before, did all these things where she all her kids. She had like 12 kids, and she married them to all the families in Europe to gain influence. And the generation after World War One happened, and all the royal families are fighting each other. Pretty much, they're cousins and stuff. That's why. So in World War Two, the royal family right now in England actually they had to change their name to the House of Windsor,
Mm-hmm.
because their old name is very German, and they were fighting Germany,
Mm-hmm.
so they had to change their name because Queen Elizabeth right now is actually pretty much half German because of her ancestry
Yeah.
is from Germany and stuff. So there's a lot. Yeah, this is
We're
a
not on a
funny.
tangent right here.
Yeah, like history tangent here, but
No, I love
that's
history. History is one of my
because
favorites.
yeah, that's why I love the way George R. R. Martin writes too, because a lot of his inspiration comes from real life history. Like the Lannisters and the Stark, the War of the Five Kings, was based off the War of the Roses in England, where there's the House of the House of Lancaster, which is the Lannisters, quote unquote, and the House of York, which is the Starks, are fighting for the throne.
It sounds
And
vaguely familiar for some reason. I don't know
yeah,
why.
it's a big thing. It happens right after the 100 Years War because succession rules and all that. I don't
Of
want to.
course.
It's very complicated, and I don't want to talk about it.
But okay. So Game of Thrones, we can start talking, I guess, about the last season. Yeah, we can start talking about the last season. What went wrong? What do you feel? What
It
went
was
wrong?
there. It's just 3 words. It was rushed. It was rushed.
Yeah.
HBO told them that hey, you can have 10 episodes. Go take even in season 7. You could have 10 episodes. Season 7 only had 8 episodes, I think, or something like that. No,
Do you
seven
feel it
episodes.
should have been longer to tell that great of a story and everything coming
I
together?
think I think 10, like if you had season 7 with 10 episodes like normal, and season 8 10 episodes like normal, I think it would have been fine. I think it would have been okay. I think it would have been they would have made it, because the sense of madness from Daenerys was so rushed. I think they should have started
It
it
came
from
from
season
nowhere,
7.
to be honest.
Yeah. Like if you read the books, like I said, there are clues for that, but in the show it just came out of nowhere.
Like at the
You know
end
what
of
I mean?
season 7, she
Started
just
become jealous with Jon.
exactly.
Yeah, and that's what I think is why in the books the other Targaryen, that's when she starts her jealousy, and it starts early. The descent of madness starts early before the snap. This one just came out in like what 3 episodes?
Like 2 probably.
Yeah, 2 or 3 episodes. It just came out of nowhere, out of left field, and you didn't have any clues with it.
I
You
really
know?
think it should have been like 15. Like if this is like the series finale, you got to explain everything going on. You could have like done so many things with like so many arcs going on. John's character arc about him becoming the king or not. The faceless gods could have played a role in it. The Night King, the fucking Night King should have
That
been
was such a
explained. That was
that was
like
very
the biggest letdown in any
Mhm.
TV series that I've ever seen in my entire life.
Even the Cersei one, man. It's like they were like you saw the battle of the especially
The
especially
Battle of
that battle,
Winterfell.
the battle of Winterfell. It was dark and you can't even see
You
anything. And
really
like
couldn't see
and
anything.
and you just that's over. It's like okay, I get it. It's not the big battle that's coming. You still have Cersei to deal with. Maybe that's the big battle, and that big battle didn't even
No,
happen.
she went out like a bitch.
Yeah, she went out like a bitch, fucking cried. It's like, oh fuck, there's a dragon.
And then
My
the walls come down, and then Jamie's like hugging him. Like that is not.
yeah, that
I get like you told me once. What was it about Game of Thrones that you told me over and over again? I had to get over with. I couldn't
uh,
remember what it was.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Uh, Somebody told me something. I think it was you or, uh, like, just because you didn't like it or don't expect Game of Thrones to go the way
Oh
you
yeah,
want it.
just because you I don't know if I told you this, but just because you don't like it doesn't mean it doesn't make sense or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah, but that one doesn't make any sense. Jamie's arc, he went full circle, and it just killed his arc. Like his arc was supposed to uh like think of yourself before think of it like do the right thing and don't worry about Cersei and stuff because he's a lot of his motivations because he loves Cersei
Mm.
and Cersei is poison to him. Cersei makes him do bad things and part of his arc, especially in the show, especially with Brienne and stuff in the books and the show, that's part of his arc, and him going running back to Cersei kind of just kills everything.
Mm.
It could be a tragedy, like trying to play off as a tragedy that he just can't get over Cersei, but it's not very satisfying. I mean, they could have done that, but they could have executed it better because it was such a letdown, you know.
If you had to choose, you would have taken Cersei out.
Arya,
Arya?
Arya, Arya should have been Arya. That should have been Arya's big kill instead of the Night King.
It
It should
really
have been
should have.
Arya. It should have been Arya because Cersei's the one who took everything away from Arya. It's Cersei and Joffrey.
Arya was the one name that she was part of the one name she kept on saying as she went to
Yeah.
sleep.
Oh yeah, and she didn't even kill except for Walder Frey. Walder Frey is the only one she killed
Yeah,
in that
and that
list.
whole list, she only kills one person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, and no, the guard, the guy who killed her. No,
Wolf.
no, the guy in Bravos she killed. The guard, the Crown's guard. I forgot his name, but he was on his list, her list too.
Okay, two people. But there was a long list. There was a long
It was a
list.
long list, but she took the Hound out. She didn't really kill the Hound
No,
because
the Hound went out by the mountain, or
um,
it was
was that
supposedly.
in the show? I can't
In
remember.
the
He still.
show, the Hound fought the mountain as the whole tower
Oh
was
yeah,
coming
that's right.
down.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because in the books, it was still a cliffhanger. They I love how they did in the books and how you found out the Hound was alive because they didn't specifically say it was the Hound. It was I forgot whose POV it was. I think it was Brienne's.
Mm.
Where she went. She looked because whole in the books the Brienne's POVs are pretty boring because she's just walking around with Podrick, uh,
Oh, Podrick.
looking for Sansa.
Love that guy.
Like 15 pages of them walking in the meadow just looking for Sansa.
Hmm.
It's a little dragging, but they did end up in this church with a gravedigger and stuff. And they described the gravedigger like the Hound, but they didn't say it was the Hound. And you gotta just have to figure out that it was the Hound. It
Mm.
was really cool the way they did in the books.
And there was another character arc or story that we never really got around to, where it just kept on getting bring it up, but it never did anything. That was the Lord of the Light. The Lord of the Light never really did anything.
Azor Ahai, the
Yeah,
chosen one.
yeah. That didn't went
Because
anywhere.
it's supposed to be Jon Snow. He is the prince that is promised.
Hmm.
The prince is promised, and that's the whole thing. And so the history of that religion, the Lord of Light, comes from even east, more east than Essos. It's like a really far away country. I forgot what it's called. That's where the religion came from. And Lysandre's looking for the Lord of the Light and all that stuff, and it's a legend. And it's supposed to be Jon Snow. It's supposed to be Stannis, but it's not. It's supposed to be. At first, people think it was Rhaegar. Some people think it's Daenerys. Uh, and like I said in the show, they never really paid it off.
No, they really didn't do anything. Just like the Night King didn't do anything. The Lord of Light arc never came around. The Faceless Gods never did anything. There was like so many things they did with that last season. They could have stretched it out, made things make sense, but they really didn't necessarily like, here
They
you
just
go,
wanted to end it.
here's Game of Thrones.
What George R. R. Martin did is to give them how each character he wants each character to end, how their arc, how they're supposed to end up, where they're going,
Hmm.
and the showrunners just didn't know how to write the in between.
Which doesn't make any sense because George R. R. Martin, they had a bunch of seasons with it. It's like they did at Avatar: The Last Airbender, where they just put the footnotes in Wikipedia, and they
Yeah, that's
got
what George.
that.
I I think that's what George R. R. Martin did. Is just to give him his footnotes because he doesn't want to reveal his book.
So
You
he
know,
would rather he would rather give them like I get it like
just finish the book,
just
dude. George, come on, please.
like I get why he wanted to do it because he wanted his endings to be
Mhm.
his, not the
Yeah.
showrunners. But I don't know. I think the showrunners
May-
could have done a lot of research on the last past
Maybe he should.
seasons.
Maybe he should have finished the books before the show finished. He had plenty of time.
He had plenty of time, but maybe
He
he
had
had health conditions.
plenty of
Maybe
time.
he was into
No, he's because
Bitcoin.
he's writing other stuff.
Exactly. Maybe he was into World of Warcraft. You don't know.
No, he's not into World War. He's writing other stuff. But yeah, it's a little bit frustrating. But I still love the world. I love the lore. I love the story. It's just the show just didn't do it justice. I do recommend if you have a chance to read the books. It's much better. There's so many stories they haven't told in the books that's not in the show.
Yeah.
Like for Lady Stoneheart, Arya Martell,
Penny
fucking
apparently.
yeah, she's a minor character, but the young Griff, uh, the uh, the was Mormont, Jorah Mormont, and Tyrion. They're actually a good duo. His arc is very different in the show than in the books. Fucking the bald guy,
Yep.
Viserys,
Speaking of
and
Viserys, his death came out of nowhere. It was weird. It was unplanned.
it's very out of character
It's
because
very out
he
of character.
he works into in the shadows, and if he disappears when you don't need him.
Yeah.
And in the books, he's so much more mysterious. He just shows up out of nowhere. I'm like, what the fuck? Oh, and in the books, the Theon Greyjoy and his sister has a whole thing with the Iron Fleet still,
Hmm.
and then Sansa never actually went back to Winterfell. That was Jean Poole, one of Sansa's uh, closest friends that the Boltons pretended to be Sansa so they can marry him to Ramsay because she's a Stark, quote unquote,
Yeah.
to legitimize you know the family. It's Stark, but it's actually Jean Poole. Sansa's still in the Eyrie, training with Littlefinger to be manipulative and all that stuff.
That
She
was
never
another
went back.
moment.
Yeah,
That was another good moment. The trial of Littlefinger and his death. That
yeah.
was like when Kristen watched it, she hated Littlefinger up to that
Oh
point.
yeah, oh yeah.
She fucking hated it. And when Littlefinger like just dies, she was like, "Fast, finally, yes."
Uh, there's like and Ramsay's death too is like
Oh, Ramsay's
brutal.
death was just poetic
It's
justice right there.
I love how you had Joffrey from like first season to like third season. You hated like the most hated character in the
Yeah.
world, and then they kill him off. That's another great moment, and they introduce you to Ramsay Bolton. Oh my
He
goodness,
destroyed
psychopath.
so many hearts. He was the psychopath of all
He's a psychopath,
psychopaths.
and he's also a fascinating character. It's like a tragic. Um, he was neglected, obviously, with his dad, and because he is a bastard, and uh, all that stuff. But he's just a shithead. I
Yeah.
hate him.
The way
He's not
that
like
go
he's
ahead.
not Jamie Lannister, who's like he's just a complex character.
The way that Ramsey went out was just beautiful. The way that smirk on Sansa's face as she walking away, that was
Yeah, and then
great.
Arya is the one to pull the trigger, right?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was. He came up, got the slit throat. So the ending of Game of Thrones, where Bran became king. That
That makes no
that
sense.
literally makes zero sense because he said in the early episodes, "I don't want to be king. I'm just here." Or
Yeah, he doesn't want the throne. Yeah,
no,
maybe he meant the Winterfell. I don't know, but
maybe.
Sansa be the only thing that made sense. I think is Sansa taking Winterfell. That's
Mhm.
it. That's it. That's the only thing that makes
Do
sense.
you think Jon should have been king then? Two Starks in the thrones.
Well, yeah. So I think John should have been because, like I said, this is supposed to be the War of the Roses, like uh, a competitor of the War of the Roses, and I forgot which king it was. I think it, but basically at the end of the day, the Lancaster and the Yorks had a legitimate, like, they married to each other and then they had a kid,
Hmm.
uh, and ended up being the true heir, so nobody can dispute it because they're both from the both houses, and that's John, who is both a Targaryen and a Stark,
Yeah, by
and that
birth
should have
and by lineage.
yeah, and that should have been it should have been him. If it, I think that's what George R. R. Martin wanted because of the uh the similarities of the War of the Roses.
Even though he kept on
Oh.
saying he doesn't want the throne, or he's just there. Even like the commander, I don't think he wanted to be the commander of the Night Watch. Even though
Yeah,
everybody loved him, he's a leader. He doesn't want to be
that's
a leader, but leaders don't aren't chosen. They're born.
yeah, that's the I forgot. There's a line in the in the show. I think something like you you're not like you're not a good leader because you want it, or because you have to be, or something. You're like, they chose you instead of, like, or something like that, right?
I think so. I can't remember. I'll have to because I'm gonna rewatch it eventually because I really did love the show. Even though I hated the last season, I'm still gonna watch the entirety of the show again. It's still a great fucking show. I recommend it to
Yeah.
anybody, even if the ending was dog shit. Just like How I Met Your Mother, I still recommend that.
How I Met Your Mother was good for 3 seasons. That's it.
I mean,
I really didn't like the rest. I did watch all of it.
mhm.
Not the biggest fan, but
I mean, I loved Marshall's character, probably one of my favorite ones out of the whole group.
it's yeah, I guess. Oh, and I just looked at it's King Henry the 7th was the one that united the two
Oh,
houses.
there you go.
King Henry the 7th.
But this was a good talking part of Game of Thrones. We've talked about it in the last two episodes, but now we talked about it. We'll probably still bring it up eventually later on in the podcast because
I get to rant about my history nerd shit.
and I love history as well, and I get to learn new things or relearning thing like the War of the Roses sounds really familiar, and I'm gonna look that up later. But what the
Yeah.
fuck that was about? Um,
Uh,
but
before you do, before you look up War of the Roses, look up the Hundred Years' War to understand War of the Roses,
that
because it leads up to it.
that
Because
sounds familiar as well.
yeah, events in history lead up to different events.
Well, yeah, that's how basically
Yeah,
history is.
exactly.
Shit happens with
Yeah,
point A to
and
point
because
B to point
because
C.
yeah, because of War of the Roses, that's the reason for the 7 Year War, and then all that.
But we will have another podcast probably Saturday, Sunday to talk about the last two episodes of Falcon and Winter Soldier as that season comes to an end. As
Mhm.
we wait for the next MCU universe coming out.
But I reckon watch The Last Kingdom. You'll enjoy it.
I will watch The Last Kingdom
Mhm.
eventually because I have still backlog on things. But thank you all for coming to us again. Please check out mine and Carlos' Twitch channel. He streams on random dates. I have a set date of Monday, Wednesday, Friday,
I
and one random date. Links will be in the description down below.
I'll eventually get a schedule. Calm down. Calm down.
Calm down. This is mostly for everybody. But thank you all once again for joining us. We'll be back again for a 3.5 podcast this weekend to talk about the last two episodes. That will be like a mini podcast, like 30 minutes probably, as
Yeah.
opposed to the regular hour. But thank you all for joining. Carlo, was there anything you wanted to leave us on that last note?
Yeah, watch the Last Kingdom.
Everyone wants The Last Kingdom. That's on Hulu?
Netflix. It's on Netflix.
Netflix. Everyone have yourself a good night. Cheers, toodaloo, love your faces. Bye bye.